So I've always looked up to Rachel.
Can I
That's
just say my favorite at my year was also Miss Utah. Do you know Temple Taggart? She
I don't think so.
she was way probably before you were born because she was in my year. But I loved her. She was so fun and just such a beautiful person. She made top 5. So
Oh,
Temple Taggart. So yeah. Okay, well welcome. So did you spend a lot of money to compete? Did you really, or did they
yeah.
get taken care of?
I was saying I spent about $20,000 to compete at Miss USA. Now, I think that it's kind of hard to remember because this was a few years
Yeah.
ago. I competed 2020, but I believe that's including the cost of some things that I did get sponsored. So I don't think it was fully 20 grand out of
Hmm.
pocket, if I remember correctly. But I think overall, yeah, I mean, and I paid for that myself. Nobody gave me that money,
Right.
or luckily I found some sponsors who helped, but a lot of that was put on a credit card.
Yeah.
All the girls that do that and there's only one winner. Just think about all the money these pageants generate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I was recently a pageant director myself, and I just left pageantry altogether. And a lot of it is because of it's just I think it's a trauma bond. I think pageantry is a trauma
Hmm.
bond, right? Like I think that's what brings us all together because there's obviously a shared love for it, but
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of trauma that happens in pageantry. And as a director, I think it was just hard to watch, and I just didn't align with it as much as I thought I would.
Hmm.
And now I feel a lot better not, not
Well,
being a part of pageants anymore.
were
Yeah.
you the state director of Utah for Miss USA?
No, national director for Miss Grand
Oh,
USA.
oh, national director. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. So I'm sure you have some stories.
Yeah, you have no idea. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like pageantry kind of is complete, you know. I think
Mhm.
it's tough because it's brought so many incredible women together, and I think that that's what inspired me to become a director was, there was good that came out of being a state title holder. I think it'd be a lie to say that no good came out of being Miss Utah USA.
Hmm.
I think every one of us has taken away something positive from those experiences,
Hmm.
and I think it can make you a stronger person, but I also do think it's like volunteering to sign up for a traumatic experience
Yeah, it
to
is.
some degree. So, yeah, pageant girls are a little freaky for that, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel like it's not as empowering as we expect it to be, right? I mean, the women that participate, I think, are trying to be empowering for sure, right? We're all trying to uplift each other. We all get into it because we have some kind of message or
Hmm.
purpose or something that we want to add. But I think unfortunately the competition aspect and the culture that is created is not as empowering or healthy for women as we would like to pretend that it is.
Yeah. Pretend that it is.
I
Yeah.
absolutely don't. But it's not the girls; it's the directors
Hmm.
or the upper management, I should say. Because like there are some great directors. I think it's the and the leadership, and
And
that starts
to
at the
the
top.
extent some of the coaches and the sponsors, I
Um,
mean, there's
the
there's
coach.
toxicity everywhere, and there's so many stories that the two of us, I'm sure, could really talk about and get into. But I think it's unfair to just put it on the leadership.
Hmm.
And I was in so many situations where I felt like so like pried upon from sponsors, from coaches, from a very, very early age, very young. I started competing when I was like 13,
Hmm.
before I had, the knowledge and the experience to really like call something for what it was. And I didn't really even get that way until after competing at Miss USA. Like, you can always say hindsight's 2020, but it truly is like you don't know what you are getting yourself into until you are 2 feet in
Yeah.
the deep end. Yeah.
The underground stuff, like behind the scenes that you're not really privy to, like they are some of them, not all the pageants, but there is some offering up of the girls to rich friends and rich associates and celebrities. So fun fact, back in 1991, I think it was, I was Miss Teen, I was Miss 1990. I was Miss Teen Rhode Island, USA, and my really good friend was Miss Black Rhode Island, and she went to the Miss Black America pageant, and she's the girl that got raped by Mike Tyson. And a lot of people that are young don't really know the story, but he served 3 years in prison. He got convicted of that rape. And there's talk and chatter that the organizers, like, they kind of give the tea on who's who. Oh, she's from Rhode Island, she'll say you're into church and she'll go for that, or just, she's into this, and like kind of give them the keys to, like, you know, hollering at these girls, like they kind of offer them up, like there's some, you know, there's some backroom talk about like who's who, like there's guys that come and pray, like, I want to meet her or whatever. And it's like, they just should be more protected. Nah,
That was one of the reasons why I didn't compete at Miss Charm, was because I had gotten on the phone with someone who was concerned about my safety and well-being going to the pageant. It was held in Vietnam, and I basically heard that that was the norm, and the girls at the pageant would get put into rooms, VIP rooms in clubs, and be essentially put out to men who were footing the bill for this pageant, and that terrified the shit out of me, and I didn't compete. So for all of the people who were like, what happened to Alyssa and what happened to the whole Miss Charm thing, that was it.
wow.
Oh, I had no idea. That's terrifying. I mean, I can see how easily and quickly that happens. As a director, I got weird messages from people on social media trying to like promote that kind of stuff, or trying to get girls to come promote their events. And I could see if under different leadership how that would be a very slippery slope if they don't protect women or have that kind of. But that's terrifying. How did you decide not to do that? Hi.
We have another pageant girl here. What's your
Former
first name?
pageant. I'm Charnay, but my name on that is Reinventing Carmen Sandiego because I
Okay.
travel a lot. It's an older cartoon.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
a little bit older than them, so it
I
was a
remember
cartoon in the
Carmen.
yeah. Oh my God, the stories I could tell. I've competed in pretty much all of the systems. I've competed in even a newer system, but my time in USA, honestly, I competed in Tennessee, USA in 2018, and honestly, it took me up until 2023 to like really realize like the damage that was done competing in that system. And then I competed with another girl in the live actually for in Miss United States. It just a lot of stuff that you go through, you have no, like, you really have no idea what you sign up for. I literally witnessed like one of my friends, like, men were like sending her messages. He was one of the photographers, and he ended up not just doing it to her, but so many other like of the teens, and he would just like send them inappropriate messages, try to do like birthday photo shoots outside of what was for the actual pageant, and just a lot of like, so much to the point that one girl finally like stood up and came out about it, and then hundreds, almost thousands of girls came in and say, oh, he did the same thing to me, all of these other kind of stuff. So it was such a traumatic thing. I won't say that pageantry in general is just bad, because I have pageant sisters that I still talk to this day. I'm their children's godmother, things like that. I really met some wonderful women along this journey, but the trauma that came, I didn't realize, like, I had an eating disorder, a lot of things that came, and just the money spent, I think just on, I spent maybe about 10,000 trying to compete in USA, about 10,000. And at that time I was in dental school. And so I was like going to dental school to become a doctor. It was a crazy, like, that was just a crazy time. So I was in school from 7 in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. And then I was working from 8:30 at night to like 4:45 in the morning just to pay for the pageant stuff. Like, it was crazy. And then, like Claudia said, not winning, you don't realize like the trauma that it sets. You're just like, oh, it's no big deal until you realize years later, like, oh, you've developed this. Like, what was wrong with me? Why, what could I have done different? And it literally had nothing to do with you. At the time that I was competing for Tennessee USA, they were the queen at that time. Her best friend competed the following year, and they were all friends, and so that ended up working out that way. She ended up, her best friend ended up winning the next year. So, that was already preset before, and you just think about this, like all the hard work. Like, I'm thinking I'm in clinicals and I'm seeing patients, and then I'm working overnight to try to pay for this, for something that was kind of like rigged and stacked up against you. But just thinking about the sexual assaults that a lot of my friends went through, just thinking about like um all of the trauma that people develop, not just eating disorders, but self-esteem. I literally, one of my pageant sisters, we had to talk her off a ledge a couple of times because she wanted to kill herself. And then the following year, Miss USA ended up
She
committing. Yeah. So
she literally jumped off a building.
yes.
And
And
that
it was
was
so,
the Miss USA that won my year. And that
Wow.
was, I like don't even have the words to describe it. I feel
yeah.
like I've really never even like talked about it publicly. I've talked about it in private with my friends and with my Miss USA sisters, but that was more than devastating to deal with. And then to see the aftermath of that, what was who was the director at the time who said that they were going to implement all this mental health like stuff for their state title holders. Rachel might be able to speak on this more because she was a title holder at that time or around that time or right
Yeah.
before or whatever. But they promised all these mental health seminars and then nothing came of that. And Noelia steps down from being Miss USA and then is completely like bullied online, and people are questioning, all of these things having to do with the pageant. And when you like really step back and think of the mental health aspect of it, like it is life or death. What this community is fostering is incredibly toxic, and it's so hard for young women to be able to like fight against that. But yeah, grieving Chesley's loss was incredibly difficult as someone who competed with her and
Mhm.
saw her light and saw her reign. And of course, like you see all of the spectacular things that she gets to do, and you just think like, wow, how can someone who seemingly has it all and
Mhm.
has such positivity and light and everything going for her, be really truly suffering behind closed doors, and
Mhm.
nobody is noticing, or nobody's talking about it, or making it easier for us to talk about it.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I have to go, so I'm gonna jump off, but that frees up my spot for another pageant girl to come
Okay.
on here. I've so enjoyed my time talking with you, Claudia. I love you so much and
Too,
miss you.
we gotta get together and have a reunion soon.
Yes, yes,
You
we
really
absolutely do.
you were a bright spot in my experience on dealing with it. I'm so glad we
Me
became
too.
friends. You
Me
know.
too. You were one of the best things that came out of that experience for me. And I've loved being on here and chatting with you and then seeing you, Rachel, and meeting you. So I wish you all the best, and I'll tune in on live if you guys are going to continue, but it opens my little square up for somebody else to talk about their experience as well.
Mhm.
And hope you'll have a good night.
I'm gonna save it on my page so anyone can
Thank
rewatch it.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, bye,
Bye.
girl. Yeah, that was so sad when Chesley when that happened. Like, and that's, but isn't that what pageantry is a lot of times, right? You put on a pretty face no matter what you're going through. Like, the show must go on. Nobody cares if your boyfriend broke up with you, or you're going through depression, or your girlfriend broke up with you, or whatever. Like, no one cares about what you got going on. You better look good and hit that stage and be smiling, shoulders back, boobies up. And that's just it. And we don't care about how you feel. It's, I mean, yeah, we chose to be in that, but and I will say this, even the fans, and someone mentioned about the fans, let Elise Banks in the chat. Okay, send me a request, Elise. Um, the criticism, it's so, like, you are looked over with a fine tooth comb, like every little thing. And if you win, and the family sometimes of the other contestants or their fans can be so mean. I remember when I judged Miss Universe, and Puerto Rico won that year. Once Olivia Culpo won, and the other time was Puerto Rico. And the parents of the contestants were coming from my neck at the reception after. Why did my daughter win? I was like, whoa, like it was scary. Like the pageant girls, they gotta do another document, like a real one, like an updated new one, like the stuff that really goes on. Maybe I'll do it. I'm gonna produce this thing.
I think you should. I absolutely think you should do it. It's I think it's they always show the glamour of it, but I really wish, and I just was talking to one of my other pageant sisters about that they really sat there and showed the psychological, the physical damage that happens to the girls when they're competing, not just, and even years after, because just realizing, I didn't even know that I had an eating disorder. I didn't even know that I had like anxiety coming, from pageantry. Just sitting there, and I would always compete every year. I would go and compete, and so once the pageant was over, I would go and eat as much as I could, because then I know I'd be competing again next year, and so then it became a cycle. And so I it was so crazy for me that I didn't even know what my normal body weight was. I didn't
Really?
know what was normal for me, because I was constantly doing pageants. And so, you have that little, October, no, later, between July and October, November is usually, that pageant season. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I have like 3 more months until the next pageant. So I'm going to eat pizza, do whatever I want, and all this kind of stuff. So I was going through my closet a few days ago, and I realized I had clothes in every size, small, medium, large, because I'd never stayed the same weight. I was always either, okay, you're competing in this system, they like this size of a girl,
Oh my
so you got to go
God.
back to this size. And then it was like, oh, okay, but normal me is like a medium. What I realized what was normal for me was like a size medium. So then I'd get there, and then, I'd kind of binge eating, because I knew I had to prepare for pageants again. And so I get to a large, extra large, and then I'm back to a small again. But it was such a like toxic cycle that for me, I thought it was normal.
It's
And
not.
then I had to realize, I was like, wow, no, there are people who have stayed the same size, like, majority of their life. And I was just like, oh, no, you have an issue. So I end up having to go to therapy, go to counseling, like that. And that was just for me, just that was my thing. But just realizing that there were a lot of other women who had different psychological issues coming from there, like just feeling inadequate, not good, those things. Unfortunately, I was in dental school at that time, so I didn't feel inadequate, because like, I'm going to be a doctor. You can't be inadequate. But I did have friends who, till this day, still, I call them every once in a while and do a mental wellness checkup, and like, hey, how you doing? You know, how is everything? Are what's going on? And some have committed suicide, and then some of them are on watch, and then some of them they've kind of gone through counseling and gotten better. But it's just, just watching, just twirl, I wouldn't even say twirling around, but to make it plain, twirling around on stage is what my sister would say. And all of this comes from just twirling around on stage.
Yeah.
What were the, I want to ask you both, like, what were some of the more extreme things that y'all have done to, get the weight, get to the right weight? Did you guys, any of you bulimic, laxatives? Was there anything we ever like pushed you to do anything like that? Just extreme diet, like
Um,
either.
my extreme was exercise. So my routine was insane. I like just thinking about, like, I was in dental school at the time. So 7 a.m. to about 5 p.m. I'm in school all day. But then I think I studied for like at 6 p.m. and then between 7 and 8 I did a workout. Worked at Amazon, the shipping company, after from 8 till 3 4:30 in the morning. But that was exercise to me. So it's like I was making money, but it was also like a form of exercise. So we were picking up boxes and things like that. After that, I would leave and go to the gym I would do bar, and then I'd go to sleep for maybe like 4 hours, get back up, do it all over again.
Wow. How about you, Ellie?
I put myself through fat camp, which is
Fat
like,
camp?
like, and I don't mean that to be derogatory,
No, but
obviously,
that's
anyway.
what it's called. So,
But
Mhm.
I mean, I ended up going to a program for people that struggle with obesity, while I was not obese, and it was a very extreme, very extreme measure. It's like crazy when you like look back at things you did that you thought that made sense in your head at the time, and you're just like, how did this make sense? And everyone there was also very upset that I was there. It was very triggering, I think, for me to be there because I was clearly not struggling with obesity, but was just struggling with body dysmorphia.
Mhm.
Pretty. I I also would be curious, just to see like true research, like how many pageant girls didn't have some kind of eating disorder competing in pageants. Like, is it actually possible for anyone to make it through pageantry without having some kind of disordered eating? Because my speculation would be that it's not. That just is my guess.
and just for people to know, you have to be like the girls that are on those pageants are very, very thin. Because everyone looks much curvier on television, right? Like I would
Mhm.
look obese, right? I would literally be obese compared to the girls on stage now. And back then I was like the thinnest I've ever been in my life, 25 pounds less than I am now. And I was still one of the bigger girls there. Like the legs are so small. You're so tiny. There's no wiggle room for anything extra. Because you're in a bathing suit, the judges like they see everything. And it comes down to that. Like you cannot have thick legs. I remember going to model agencies and when I was very, very young, and one of them said the max I could be at 5'8" was 115 pounds. And I'm like, what? I run track, I have muscular legs. They go, well, 119 if you're muscular, but we need you to be 5'10". What? That is so skinny. 5'10", 115 is, that's like a child.
Insane.
I was 115 in fifth grade, I think.
Right.
Sixth grade. Wow. So you guys both.
That,
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this. Thanks for sharing this. I think people need to hear. And we're not just dumping on pageants. We're talking about it because it's
mhm.
relevant. But, with the story that just came out. But, I think people need to know the good and the bad because I don't think, probably no one ever told either one of you the extremes of the weights and all those types of things and the things that be asked of you.
Yeah.
The criticism,
Ex-
though, was so harsh. Oh, we lost her.
especially being a curvy girl. Just I think the beginning of like the eating disorder probably came about. I had a roommate who was a smaller. She wasn't curvy. She's kind of straight up and down. She and I were the same weight, but we were both, I think, 125 at that
Mm-hmm.
time, but we didn't wear it the same way.
How
I
tall are
have
you?
like I'm 5'6". I'm 5'6".
What we have another?
So
Mm-hmm.
Hello, how
Five,
are you?
6.
First of all, Claudia,
Yes.
always,
Uh,
I've watched you. I've watched videos from when you competed at Team USA on YouTube to be where I am today. So thank you. Okay,
oh, that's so awesome. Tell me your name.
my name's Mia. I was Miss Delaware Team USA 2014, Miss Delaware USA 2017. I did Miss Earth USA in 2019.
Let me look
And
you
then I
up.
also competed for Miss Delaware America for the past 2 years, 2023 and 2024.
Do you miss? So you're still doing it.
I'm done.
Wait, your name's Kelsey, right?
Mia.
Oh, me. I'm sorry.
Yep. No,
I'm,
you're
t-
fine.
I'm trying to find you
Yep.
right now, Mia.
I'm Mia Imani. That's what the world knows me as. I was on reality TV, did the whole shebang.
Oh, you didn't
Yeah.
work. Okay.
Yep. My pageant experience as a teen was great. In 2014, I feel like when I was on stage, I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I was being bullied in school for being too tall, too skinny, I was talking too white. My skin was too dark. I was that girl.
Mm-hmm.
So once I started competing in pageants, and especially uh, Miss Teen USA, Miss Delaware Teen USA, after I won the first time around, I was hooked. and it got me going on the cycle again where I wasn't eating, or I was doing the poop tea right before. And our pageant for Miss Delaware Team USA and Miss Delaware USA was always around Thanksgiving.
It was Debbie and Cindy
Yep.
your state directors?
Debbie and Cindy were my state directors. Love them to death. They helped me through a lot, even with my mental health, still to this day. So shout out to them. They really do care about
Oh, I
their
see
title
you.
holders.
Pretty
Yep.
pictures.
Thank you. They really do care about their title holders. But if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would be here.
What's the most extreme thing you've done for like weight loss? Anything? You said you did the poop teas, right?
Poop teas, laxatives, water pills. I had to soak it all up before I went on stage because I'm 5'11 3/4", 6 foot. My butt was always too big. I come from a family where, everybody's just voluptuous in different areas. And I just so happened to have a big bottom half, and they were like, "You're too big, smaller,
Mm-hmm.
smaller." I wear a size 2. I don't know how much smaller I can get. I was like,
At 6 foot
smaller,
tall, size 2 is
smaller.
insane.
Insane.
I was
So
tiny.
she was
To this day,
we got you back. She was Miss Amia was Miss
I,
Delaware teen.
I know Rachel.
Oh, you guys know each other. Okay.
I was going to compete for Rachel, and then I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that. Yep.
Okay.
It was,
Good.
Feel
it was
you.
hard. But you said good.
Size 2 at 6 foot, like,
Size
and you
2 at
probably
6 foot.
thought no big deal. But looking back now, don't you? We all see
Looking,
how ridiculous it is now,
looking
right?
back now, I'm like, my arms look like I could break them off like a little tree branch. Like it could
Mm-hmm.
break in half. I had a muscle definition. I was a dancer, but I felt like I could snap myself. Whoop, just easy, easy. Still to this day, people are like, "Oh, you're way too skinny," and I'm like, "You should have saw me before."
Yeah.
Like,
I
if
think we
people
all
see
had body
me now,
dysmorphia. You all. I
I
think
think
we've all. I
so.
think,
Yeah, I don't think that's even a question.
yeah, we've
But
all had it. Like, cause back then you're like, oh my god, I'm so fat. You're like, look at this, and it's now I kill to have that skinniness
yes,
I had back then.
I was like,
Right.
it does go
oh
away
my god,
though. It's not I don't know about how you guys feel, but at least it's not a permanent thing because I do feel like
no,
now I look at my body and I just love it and it feels totally normal. But it's taken a lot of work. It's not necessarily something that just happened overnight, and I wouldn't say pageantry helped very much with that process.
Right.
Have you guys ever heard of a trauma bond though? Like for real? Do you know what that is?
I think
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
we all have that trauma bond.
I
Yeah, I think
I
we
really
do.
think not just with each other, because obviously there's like shared trauma that connects you to each other, but I think it's like a trauma bond to pageants
Yeah,
as a whole because it's like a weird addiction, right? Because
I'm
there's such a
I,
high
I'm like
when you get
still addicted by the slightest bit. Like if somebody told me, "Hey, you can go compete tomorrow," the sad thing is, I think I might roll out of bed and say, "Okay."
Wow.
yeah, it's like the ex that like you really don't want to text you back, but like there's a chance you go over there if you did.
And I can do it though. Nobody's gonna hurt me.
But think about it. Like you to subject yourself to judgment from five strangers that don't know you to sit there and be like, thighs too big, don't like her forehead, her nose is ugly. It's looking back, it's crazy that we put ourselves out there to be judged like that. I mean,
Yes.
it got me out of Rhode Island. Like it got me out of. I left Rhode Island and I used that. Went to LA. Gave me the motivation to go to LA.
Mhm.
And it's not all bad. I hope people don't think
No,
it's just we're just dumping on the pageant experience. I just think you need
it's
to talk.
not bad.
You
All
should talk
bad.
about both sides. I think you should give people the full context of what you're doing.
I
Hmm.
You know.
But
I love
that's also
I love pageants still so much. It saved my life as a teenager. I was on suicide watch for months leading up to the
Wow.
pageant, and I ended up getting on the pageant stage at Miss Delaware Team USA, and by the grace of God, I won. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how, I don't know why, but they gave this awkward 6 foot tall little girl a chance to go compete at Miss Teen USA. I went, I made top 15 that year. I was shocked. I was like, all right, that's enough. Whoever looks at Delaware anyway. I was like, okay, I've
Girl,
done
we the
enough.
same. Delaware and Rhode Island. We the
Right?
bottom,
I
the
was
smallest states.
the
No one cares
small,
about us.
nobody cares about us. And I sat there and I said, I can't believe I just did that. So I went to college. I was like, I'm missing something. I'm missing something. I haven't fulfilled my role yet. I always say like my Miss Delaware teen crown was for me, but my Miss Delaware USA crown is for everybody else. To like tell my story, to tell them, yes, there are good and bad things to both, whichever you decide to do. Sports, you know, pageants, it's our sport. We
It's our
we
sport.
will
Mm-hmm.
work ourselves for our sport. And
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I sat there and let 5 people judge me and had a conversation with them, but I let a room full of people at school bully me, still baffles me to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned that there's so much more to me than just my looks,
Mm-hmm.
than just how I stand up in front of a crowd, just for me being 6 foot tall. All of that doesn't matter anymore because I know I'm a good person inside and out. And I know I can go on a stage and say, hey, this is me. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And I think that's what happened to me when I competed this year at Miss Delaware America. I got third runner up in 2023 and I got second runner up in 2024. They told me I wasn't the girl next door. I'm not something girls, my life isn't obtainable. The things
Child.
that I've done, being on TV, living in Miami, I'm deciding to go to dental school. I leave, I'll start next year. Um, Doing all that. And I was like, my life isn't obtainable. I was a little girl watching these women on TV, eyes glued to the stage, listening to what they did for their jobs, nuclear scientists, and wanting to be a model. I wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I have it, I felt some type of way to the point where I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Because how are you going to tell me that I'm not the girl next door? I'm not the one little girls look up to and say I can be just like her. People say that, and that's sad.
I think it's an extra layer of difficulty also being a black girl in the pageants.
Oh yeah.
Again, I'm going by not only being in them, but also sitting next to judges and being in those meetings and the stuff I would hear or see some of the judges doing. I'm like, I wanted to tell the world, like, I wanted to hug all the black girls and be like, it's not you.
It's
Please
not.
don't think it's you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Because I'm seeing what some of these judges, like, some of them don't look at dark skin. They
Mm-hmm.
just do not. They don't even, it's not even on their radar. And that's irresponsible of the judge, the directors or Miss US or whoever.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get people that are open minded because some of them don't even consider
Nope.
ethnic looking, dark, and that's why it just irritated me so much. The comments that were made about Miss Denmark, like finally it's the evolution of like it's evolution and it's evolved now because they went back to blonde hair, blue eyed woman.
That's
We
what you
haven't
guys did for 60
right,
years.
and then God forbid we got about 8 winners that are Latina, Black,
Right.
Puerto Rican, whatever,
60 years.
Asian, and now it's like they're taking over.
Yeah.
We're
Doesn't
what?
matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, if you're part of the LGBT community, they will use you as much as they can and then fail you at the very end where you needed them the most.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
yeah.
have realized that. I have sat there and looked, even from being on TV, I have realized that, am I just here to fill a spot because I'm black?
Sometimes you're there for them to make money off of
Mm-hmm.
you. They
Is
have no intentions. Some
that
of them have no intentions of ever having.
I said, is that the only reason why I'm here? Because
Sometimes.
I've heard these boys on the other side who I'm supposed to be dating say they don't like black girls, but why do I have to go for her? Like stuff like that. And it's like, okay, all right, I'm not listening. Like I have to be here for 3 months. It's technically my show.
Hmm.
So as it went on, like pageants, TV, I was just like, you know what? I love doing TV. I'll continue to do it. Choose me if you want to, but I'm not your black girl. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah.
a black girl, especially in the pageants as well. They make me out as too much,
Too
too
much.
old, too much sass, too much power in her walk. I thought that's what you wanted.
Too aggressive.
Too
Too aggressive.
Too
aggressive.
aggressive. I as a judge on the other side and the host, it would like really break my heart because there'd be so many of my faves that wouldn't make it, and I want to just tell them, I promise
Yeah.
you, please don't develop a complex. It is not you.
Hmm.
It's some idiot judges. It's not, you are drop dead gorgeous. Like, there's so many times you watch a pageant, you're like, oh, she's in my top 10. And then they don't make it. Cause I'm
Yep.
telling you, there are judges that are completely biased that they would never like, and for a black girl to win, you have to be like 5 times as good, right?
Top tier.
There's no room for error. There's no, well, she stumbled a little bit. Nope.
No,
You're out of
you're
there.
you're
It's
gone.
so difficult.
It's
It's so difficult and
it's
it's so
so-
frustrating.
it is so hard. I was like, I don't know what else to do. I was like, I can't be anybody but myself. I'm not gonna try and be somebody else.
You know what you do? You go compete because there's other little girls
Mhm.
watching your year. And, you do what you can that year. And then, that's just another face. It makes it less rare, right? So the next girl gets inspired by seeing you and then she goes and maybe she's the one that breaks the next ceiling. And
Mhm.
that goes for all of us, also, Rachel, with you, being so bold, like you heard what Alyssa said about you, like she wished she could have come out like you did. Even if you don't win the big crown, you got like the women you represent one step closer, and
Mhm.
eventually they can't deny all of us. We gonna get through, we're gonna, they,
Yeah,
Somebody's gonna do something.
it's
yeah. And, I will say this,
definitely.
it should help us all with rejection, and
Hmm.
I chose a career that's 99% rejection. Let me get some more abuse.
Yeah,
Let me go to
I
Hollywood.
I can take a breakup really well.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh, it's not me, it's you. Oh, okay,
I,
that's
I
fine.
get broken up with them like, nah,
Eh,
I'll go eat,
mm.
I'll go eat some ice cream.
It's like
I'll be
stood on a
fine.
stage, people told you fourth runner up is,
Right.
and you were the person the whole entire time. That's rejection.
Right.
We are, listen, I will say everyone on this panel is fantastic at rejection.
Yes, people get called
Absolutely.
for 9 times.
Nine
Nine
times.
times
Wow.
she has been called first runner up.
Wait, you've been first one up 9 times?
No, not me.
A friend of yours.
I stopped and I didn't even get first runner up. After third runner up, I was over it. I was like, I don't know how everybody's doing this. I said, this is hard.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Back again, and I got second runner up, and I said, okay, that's enough. But I've watched the girl get called first runner up 9 times. She
Oh
competed
my
in
God,
Pageant
it's
That's
9,
terrible.
awful.
and she said, I like Alyssa was saying, different panel, different winner. She was like, what do I say to that? And I was like, it's a different girl did win every. Maybe I said, go compete in a different pageant system, something else. If this is really what you want to do, try something else. She ended up going to compete in different pageant system and winning.
She
I
went
said,
where?
she went from Miss Delaware USA to Miss America, and she won the pageant. I said,
And again, one judge different, she could have won.
can change the whole thing, because don't they do the re-rank system now, where it's like you can have the highest score in the pageant, but you
Okay.
don't have. They can rank you fourth if you have the highest score.
Oh, hell
And
no.
everybody, like if they rank you fourth, third, second, first, winner, and then that just makes your score go down because you only get 2 points for fourth. So that's what's happening. It's get the top scores out. So that'll be the top five. You can say that, let's say Venezuela had the highest score in the universe. Denmark was like third. They drop the scores and they re-rank them
The
to who they want.
rankings, like yeah, when they get the top 5, they're like, okay, which one
Yep.
is first, which one is second? Yep. That's
And
Wow.
that's messed up.
that's what messes people up. That's what's getting people the winner they want and
Mm-hmm.
they need.
Ooh, you guys, I do not miss it. I mean, I miss
No.
getting dressed up, but now I'm just going to red
I miss
carpet.
dressed up and being on stage and just taking pretty pictures. I miss that. I
I
miss that.
I
That's what I
I feel like I did miss, I don't know, there's something about doing a turn on stage. There's something about when the lights go down and it's what I loved about pageantry, it was the first place because I've always been in, medicine and science.
mm-hmm.
So we're science is type A. there's no like room for personality. Everybody is the same. You have that same kind of cookie cutter
Hmm.
yeah, type of personality. And then I what got me into pageantry, it was that was the one area where I could shine, where I can be myself. And people like I loved glitter and rhinestones. And when I was in dental school, people look at me like, why are you so animated? But on the pageant stage, people love glitter and rhinestones. So I
Yes.
got to be who I was. Like that was the one place where I just got to shine, where I was comfortable because everybody there liked the same stuff that I liked. So I
Hmm.
loved doing pageants. I just something about, you know, something about just in the swimsuit turning, showing everybody how much work that I did, showing them that I could do a turn that not all girls could do, like those type of things. So I loved it. I also loved like meeting girls. I was able to network and get into a lot of different areas that I would have never had access to
Hmm.
had I not met a lot of my pageant sisters. Even now, like I want you to message me so you can, I can help you out throughout dental school, tell you what to look out for. But that's what pageantry, is supposed to be about. It's just like women coming together, supporting each other, and one of us just takes this shiny hat home. But
That's right.
I always end up winning Miss Congeniality because I just loved being there. I loved meeting women. I loved connections. I loved relationships. I loved all that. So, pageant, I it's so hard because someone asked me like if I had a daughter, would I want her to do pageantry? And I would say I would never push her to do it. I would never push her to do it, but I wouldn't tell her not to do it. I just
Hmm.
definitely would guide her along the way, like, okay, if you have to get used to hearing no.
Yep.
You have to get used to that and being able to come out of that unscathed and know that that's not your it's not that you are a no, but that this is not the position for you. Because I want women to really understand, like, this is a pageantry is still a business. Like, they want every business has a representation that they want, and if you're not that representation, that doesn't mean something's wrong with you. You're just not the representation for that.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna get off here
Yeah.
before it cuts us off because I think we're getting close to that time.
Mm.
I'm gonna let this be on my page. I'm gonna keep it up there. So I'm just making sure I get everybody's Instagram. Reinventing Carmen San Diego, Salzy Rachel, and Mia Imani. I'm gonna tag you guys in the post and feel free to share whatever you want or whatever you want. But thanks for getting on here. I think this was
No,
this was fun.
Yeah, this
it's
was
Got to
thank
great. And I
yeah.
have
you so much
some
for
stuff that I would like to send to you for prepare for you for dental school. I have a lot of my like old stuff that's still in storage, and so I would love to send you all of that, practice teeth, all that other kind of stuff.
I
And Claudia, you and I actually met before. We met in Dallas at a play that you guys were doing
Oh
with
yeah.
Kristen Keys. And we
Oh
talked about pageants there too. It was
yeah.
so that was funny. But so
That
it
play
was
was a
great to see you.
mess.
I loved it though. It was great. I loved it.
But that play, because it was so unorganized, inspired me to write my own play in finance. And then I had another play with Christian, and we did it in Shreveport. I want to do more of that. Like
cool.
I was like, I'm gonna do it, but be organized because
Hmm.
I cannot do. Oh, like I have to be organized. Yeah. All right.
But
Well.
that's I always look at it as like, it's life, and something great came from that. You and Christian are working on something, and you have your own play going on. So
Yeah.
it's I always I now in life I kind of look at things as like take something positive, even if it was a traumatic
Oh
experience.
yeah.
Like just take something positive for it.
If that didn't happen, if it wasn't so like late and a mess, I would have never like went out on a ledge and thought I could, and have the confidence to write a play. I'm not a playwright, but I will end this by saying that is one thing. I know we kind of dumped on pageants a little bit tonight, but I will say on the positive side, the fact that we're all willing to put a bathing suit on and heels and be judged in front of thousands of people, millions of people when you go to Miss USA or Miss Teen USA, it does make you be a go-getter. It does push that out of you. It does that is a good thing I will say about doing pageants. It does make you be fearless in life, because most people can't do any kind of public speaking. Most people, that's the number one fear in society. Most people are terrified of public speaking, and we've all had to do it in front of millions of people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's a good thing. It definitely makes you be courageous, you know, and then you kind of have that go for it, badass chick spirit about you all. Everyone here has that.
Mhm.
Everyone here has that. So thank you, ladies.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sure.
For
If you ever
hosting
want to
this.
talk about pageants again, we'll get the group
Yeah.
together and
So
Yeah.
we'll see what more scandals comes out of this Miss Universe stuff.
Mm.
But
Bye.
Rachel, thank you. I just want to like give you a second if you want to say anything, because we all
yeah,
did. So
no, first of all, I just want to say I'm so inspired by everything I heard today, and I'm so glad that you did this, like this live. The conversation was so inspiring to me, and I think it's so healing for so many people to get to hear everybody's stories. So thank you just for hosting that platform and opening up the
Yes.
voice
for
to
sure.
share. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. My
Yeah.
pleasure. Anytime, you know, it's, I feel like now, especially with this new administration, women, we have got to really be there for each other, because it's going to get rough for a lot of us. And now, if ever there was a time to exhibit sisterhood and supporting of your fellow women in your lives, it is right now, because we are under attack.
Mm.
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes some of the phone calls are coming from inside the house with your
Mm-hmm.
own people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I got cats.
Oh my God.
That's
So
it. That's who I sleep with. My cats.
Cat.
No enemies in my house.
Nope.
I know that's
Bye.
right.
Uh, for now. Okay. Well, thank you. Nice to meet you all.
thank
I'm going
you.
to post this video right now, so it'll be on my page.
Bye.
Okay.
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 Bye,
Bye.
ladies. Nice to meet you
Bye.
all.